what's going on, people? Welcome to this week's episode of the Indy Karan podcast. Did you just sneeze or cough? Or cough?
Sneeze. That's never happened. I was like, he's recording. It's
oh my God, he shat himself completely. It was the impact of
what
energy that I just surged into the podcast straight away.
That's how you start a set, okay? You guys in the Bungalow scene, you want to start the bang. That's how you do it, okay? You fall off the stage. You break it up, the ing leg, okay? You carry on and you still do the set. That's right. It, you retie your bug and you do the set. Okay?
That's all that matters, man.
Okay.
So, we have news, people. We might be doing a podcast in person, me and Karan, soon.
Oh,
and
my God.
I'll be planning that after this with him, so you'll be able to see like video footage of me and him together, and maybe the dynamic will be different. Who knows? Let's see.
It will be. It reminds me of the first podcast we ever did when we sat
because that was nice.
Awkwardly close on the sofa, and you kept edging
you know what?
me.
I think about that podcast a lot. You know, I sit there and I'm like, why did we sit like that? Why didn't we sit like chairs across one another and just talk?
Oh, well, you'll be my boyfriend. That's nice.
You wish I would, mate.
Have you? So, guys, the 2% man. That's your new name. Have you recovered? You're 100%.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good to go. I'm now getting the mustache ready for the wedding. So I'm now putting wax in it, as you can see. Those of you listening via audio, I'm sorry you can't see the impressive
But you need
curls.
to jump on. You need to jump on to appreciate the handlebars.
You must switch over.
Indy. Like, just to give you guys, again, if you're listening, and I know a lot of you listen to this, you know, on Wednesdays you're going to work, you know, coming back from work. Think of being at the gym and doing wide grip pull-ups. This is what you could do on Indy's moustache. They are that wide. Not narrow grip, not neutral grip, wide grip. Okay?
Except it's the other way around.
What do you mean?
It's the other way around because it curves down, but mine curl up.
Oh, makes it even more challenging.
See what I mean? Trying to get.
Although that'd be interesting. That would be interesting if you did down.
Why would it be interesting?
No, it'd be weird. I mean, that's probably the right word. It's not interesting. It's weird.
That's what I've been. That's what I've been doing this whole time. Ever since I've stopped doing it, I've just combed it into my beard. I've not done anything else.
I'm thinking wedding day you come and it's just pointing down. There are people.
If I did that, it would be like
epic.
unrecognizable, man.
Epic.
It would be epic. No.
Epic. Put your braces back on. Go back to small beard, Indy. Wouldn't that be fun?
Braces back on. Clean shaven, Indy. Let's go.
You turn up at the wedding like old Indy. Hey, Sanj.
Take it from the top. This is who I really am. My truest, authentic self. Right.
Oh, wow. There's no need for that, was it? There was no need for that. He went there, man. He's making these jokes.
I did go for it. So those of you that don't know, today is the 7th of September, which means unfortunately we're 2 days away from the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, the 20th anniversary. There's been a lot of media push on this recently for documentaries, people talking about it. Are you opening Tic Tacs right now? Your wife is going to kick your ass when she listens to this audio, man, honestly.
Listen, I want to feel minty fresh.
Minty fresh for who? You could have the dirtiest breath and I wouldn't know. You could smell of torka right now and I wouldn't know.
Do you not know Shindy?
Yeah, I do know Shindy.
Then enough said. Okay, guys, listeners out there, my wife is a stickler for good breath, good oral hygiene. Okay? Which is why when it comes to brushing my teeth, there is a whole routine. Okay? I have everything you could ever need or want for oral hygiene. Scrapers, flossing, water pick, toothbrush to go over the tongue, over the top, mouthwash, obviously. I've got everything. So, and Tic Tacs.
And Tic Tacs, clearly.
Tic Tacs, yeah.
Well, let me just restart that fucking introduction then, shall I? Jesus Christ. Okay. So, 7th of September is the date today. The 9/11 anniversary, 20th anniversary is in 2 days' time. There's been a media push to look at the documentaries that have come out on Netflix and the BBC. Me and Karan chose one to watch over just to sort of get a feel for it because we were young, man. I'm 29 now. I was 9 years old when it happened. You were 10?
2001, yeah, going into secondary school. So year 6.
Yeah.
Going into secondary school.
Yeah. And watching it now and seeing it just gives you like a new perspective on it because you sort of hear about it, but you don't know the run of events that happened on the day clearly. You sort of know bits and things are skewed and it doesn't really gel together. But now they put it all together for us in a visual format. We chose to watch 9/11. What is it? The
President's War Room.
Yeah. So live from the War Room, which basically is from Bush's point of view for the whole day and the events that happened. So we're going to just do like a quick review on it. So it's not really spoilers. It's just sort of recapping what happened.
You need to watch it. You need to watch it. Now, what I will say is, like, I'm somebody who has watched a lot of material about 9/11, read a lot of material, read the conspiracy.
You're a
stuff
mad
that's
conspiracy
going on as
theorist, man, on it. You love it.
I am, but it's as in, I don't want people to get the wrong idea that I just love conspiracy theories and.
No, but that one I think is a divisive one for everyone.
No, it is. I just like, I like seeing both sides, and I like seeing, you know, the whole phrase, there's no
Fire without smoke.
Hey, yeah, exactly. So,
and that's a really bad reference considering what happened, Karan. For
absolutely,
God's sake,
but
man.
when people say things, you've got to look at it and question it and look for the facts. But yeah, my point was about this documentary is that I learned so many different things because it was just from a completely different perspective. And watching it, I mean, the initial period or initial words that come to my mind having watched it is there was complete chaos.
Yeah.
Okay? This wasn't like, nobody was organized, nobody expected it, there wasn't a playbook like they said.
It just seemed
and
aged.
they were scared. But they were scared, man.
They were scared for sure, but it just seemed old. Like, considering how times were 20 years ago, everything seemed slow, backwards, lack of technology. I'll tell you what, let's just go from the start, yeah? So from the beginning, they show this scene of like Bush going for a run in the morning of 9/11, yeah?
With the reporter, yeah.
Yeah, with the guy. And that made me think like, oh, this is based on like a typical president's film. You know how when you see films, you see the president wake up in the morning, get up early, go for a run, security guards behind and in front of him. I was like, this is really typical, but you know what? I do believe it. Yeah. And I'm not sure if that was actually filmed on the day or from a different day. It would be weird if he was documenting every day in 2001. That would be extraordinary, considering he was only meant to go to a school on the day for the event. Maybe not. So, yeah, I found that weird. Then obviously he turns up at the school where he's meant to go and talk to the kids and understand his new education breakdown and trying to change everything. And the pace of events was quite rapid, wasn't it?
Yeah, because then, again, this is all retrospective. We know now it's a terrorist attack, but at the time they were like, oh, a plane's gone into one of the buildings. It was a small plane. That's the first thing they kept saying. If you
just take that phrase in isolation, a plane has gone into a building, would you not think, okay, tell me more? Not, oh, it's a small propeller plane that hit a building and left a dent. Like, you would think, that's pretty big.
Yeah, no, to be fair, he did say that, but again, there was like nothing, wasn't there? And it was so interesting. There's a point where they said, now we think the CIA, the FBI, the government has eyes on everything. There's like, we didn't have that, and the eyes came from the press.
Yeah.
So they were all like, how many times did we see in the program? They just kept watching the TV.
To
see the coverage. It's not like they had special access or anything. And then it was like, again, it's unprecedented. It's not like a plane's ever done this before. Although I think there was a film made about this before 9/11 happened, which my mum often tells me like this. You know, there's a film about hijacking a plane, and I'm not sure if it included the actual towers, but something very, very similar. And then they sort of carried on, didn't they? They were like, oh, it's probably an accident. Because again, it's the same as the medical world. Like, if you have a symptom today, like say you have a little bit of chest pain right now, you don't assume, oh, bloody hell, it's a heart attack, I'm about to die.
Yeah, but Karan, if a plane goes into a building, you still think building, plane, big event. I don't care if it's like
definitely a big event. But I'm saying I understand the notion of they didn't assume it's deliberate or a terrorist attack straight away. Yeah, okay. Second plane goes in, they're like, okay, this is definitely deliberate. But initially, get some more information. What else is he supposed to do? Like, he's there and he says, isn't he? He doesn't want to scare the kids and he doesn't want to just...
Yeah, I don't agree with that scaring of the kids shit, because he's like, oh, I don't want to scare the kids and get up. And I'm like, hang on, a guy's whispered in your ear the nation's under attack or whatever.
This is the second plane now, isn't it? This is the second plane.
No. This is the first plane. The first plane had gone in, I think, and he said to him, the plane's gone in, the nation's under attack. Or was it the second plane? You know what, you could be right. I think it was the second plane.
Second.
Okay, the second plane, fine. So the second plane hits, and the guy says to the nation's under attack, and you're sitting there and you're trying to read a book, and I'd be like, I need to go to the toilet or something, or I got to get out of here because this is some major shit that's going down. Don't frighten the kids, but just say, I need to step out for a sec. That's what you got to say.
But you saw it. I mean, this is the one good thing I liked about the program, the coverage, is they had lots of stills. As a photographer, you'll you'll appreciate that. But they captured, you know, the emotion so well. Like, there's coverage, that's fine, but the stills of like, you looked at his face and he was like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, but also with a still going, you can take a still of me doing this and it looks like I'm doing something major, right? A still in a picture can be very misleading. When you're sitting there watching him, you see the emotions play in his face. I completely get that when you watch the video back. But it felt like they were really overcompensating for him not getting up and going out of there. They were like, oh, his lip twisted. His lip pursed. His lips tightened. His eye twitched. I was like, come on, man, you guys are doing a lot right now. Like, you're really trying to make it be like it's okay that he didn't get up. And fair enough, he didn't get up, I get it. But when you say it's to protect the kids, he stepped out to give a presentation to the nation in front of a bunch of kids. So it's not like... So he's saying he did it to protect the kids, but then he did that afterwards.
Yeah. I think, you know, it's the difference of like 5-10 minutes, man. In the grand scheme of things, for him, probably it's processing. He's like, I think he used that time. He's sitting there like, oh shit, man. Like, okay, what are we doing about the situation? Like, you're the most powerful person in the free world. You need to do something. This has never happened. You don't have all the information. And we saw so much in that thing, because communication was so crap.
It was, man.
That there was so much fake news, let's say, right? There's so much misinformation. This thing about the presidential's plane Air Force One being called Angel, and there was like Angel is
next. That's the one, right? We will come to that, but how things were like, how there was just like an open barrier for everybody just to say everything, and they were just over communicating little bits that they'd heard, thinking that it was, you know, a thing.
But look how scared they were, man. They were like, the president's going to be attacked at the school. The plane's going to go into the school, and then there's a bomb going to be in the car on the way. Then there's going to be a Stinger missile for this. Then
and there's a Stinger at the bottom of the runway, and you're like, whoa, you guys are really going for it.
Well, and take him out the belly of the plane because it's harder for a sniper. Like, this is, you know, when you watch like that film, Gerard Butler.
You love those films he did. Olympus Has Fallen. Yeah, you love it.
Someone made that video of you in it. That's I remember it. Yeah, but you see in there like all this stuff happens, but they genuinely, like, there was a bit, man, where the pilot of Air Force One was scared for his life and said, do not let anybody into this cockpit. He thought there was somebody on the plane, inside the presidential inner circle. Like, the level of fear, man. Like, that's the one thing. Again, I haven't watched this stuff in a while, and I was like, these guys were like thinking anything could happen. How many planes are out there?
Because at that point, you're thinking anything goes. You don't know how much longer it's going to go on or what else is going to happen. One thing that did give me chills was when they showed the actual second building collapse. Sorry, the second building plane go into it.
Yeah, and it's getting engulfed.
Yeah, so as soon as the plane went in and you see it connect, you're like, whoa. And you're thinking, that's not special effects. You can see it's on some grainy videotape and it's real. And you're like, shit me, that is horrible. Right? And you just see it. And imagine you're watching TV, seeing smoke come out of one tower. At 9 a.m, the second one gets hit, and you're thinking, this is morning viewing. Like, what the hell's going on? And you don't expect to see that when you're watching news about one attack. You hear about a second, then a third, then a fourth. Just bang, bang, bang. And that's why I can understand they must be thinking, like, there's a bit where they said, oh, maybe it's part of their plan to get the president back to the White House, and then there'll come in another wave of planes. Like I said, they were just scared. And then the other chilling point, like you said, your chilling point. The chilling point for me is there's a TV anchor, and the towers are still standing at this point. Yeah.
And he's just there, and he's like, as you can see behind me, there was smoke coming from the building.
Yeah.
And then
he was doing take 2 of his own video.
Yeah. And it starts collapsing, and then there's like, there was literally no time, and the coverage you see of the, you know, the dust and people being engulfed by it. There's a cameraman running around.
I think that's called like a pyroclastic flow. So whenever a volcano erupts, the bit that kills people isn't the smoke, it's the debris that comes out afterwards. So the debris goes out first, then the smoke comes, and it all gets mixed. So naturally, whenever like smoke comes out of a volcano, you just step to the side and the smoke goes past you. But because it explodes out and it pushes stuff out with it, the same thing happens when a building collapses. And when that building collapsed, you see everybody just run around it, and you can see a guy. Some videographers were like filming the smoke coming towards them, and I'm like, move! Why are you still there? Because they're not thinking, oh, the smoke's coming towards me, I've got time. They're not thinking behind them that there's smoke or anything like that.
No, crazy, it was literally like, And you know, the American accent kind of makes it more like kind of
Yeah.
movie like action. Like he's like, oh my god, run for your lives. But this was real, man. Like people were scared, panicking, they were running, and it was just mayhem, pure mayhem.
Yeah. So with that, I thought it was a bit wild how news anchors had to be, how they got that close even to begin with. I mean,
Yeah.
you're thinking a building's been struck. You would have been like, yeah, I need a radius of like 9 blocks out minimum. But they were within
There,
touching
the
distance,
base.
I'd say.
They were like that shot. He was like, and behind us you can see the emergency, you know, crew or whatever.
Yeah,
and
the
they're right
firemen
there
and
about
stuff.
to go in. Yeah, yeah, and you're just like, oh my god, man, this is. But again, we know the buildings collapsed. You look at them. I don't know the timeline between building struck and building collapsed. Like
Yeah,
years
it's
in
not.
between.
I
But
don't know how long
it
was.
looked. The building looked pretty stable, man.
Yeah.
I mean that's one of the main conspiracy points. We'll come to that later, but they didn't expect it. And I think after that, obviously, yeah, then Tower 2 and that fell, then there was virtually nobody, like civilians near it.
Yeah, Tower 1 falling was a big deal. Tower 2 was like, okay, we've already evacuated the area, so the impact isn't as big, but you can still, it still hurts to see it collapse
No,
in
absolutely.
that manner.
And obviously, there must have been people in Tower 2. There's an infamous thing called the Falling Man. I don't know if you've seen this. Just
The what?
go on Google now, actually. So go on Google, type in 9/11, the Falling Man's like photo. Just look at it for me. This is really
9/11,
infamous.
the Fallen Man. Guys, if you're
Falling-
listening,
fall-
please do the same thing.
Falling,
The Falling
Man.
Man. Holy shit.
You see it?
Yeah. Is that
Yeah,
real?
So this is this is real. So this was like really, it became a story in itself, and there's a program dedicated just to this. It's about like there's a guy.
So explain
I
to
think he's-
people what actually happened.
So I can't remember if it's Tower 1, Tower 2. It's before I think the collapse, but essentially this person, obviously he must have a name. I don't know the name, but he's above the level of explosion, so he cannot get to safety. He can't get below the explosion zone, and you know obviously he just jumps. This guy jumps, and people are seeing this, and then he gets known as the Falling Man, and it's captured in this photo. You know, like that's how horrific it was, man. And it's just there's so many of these stories like this where people had to do this and they're just trapped, couldn't get out. But that's one of the most famous.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. So this guy obviously, so building 1 and building 2 has collapsed, and you hear this other side story where there's a news anchor themselves. I think it was a news anchor, but she was known to government. Her name was Barbara Olson, and she was on the
she's
plane as the second one was about to go, and she called her husband, and she's like, "What do I do?"
Was she on that plane or
hijacking.
United 93?
She was on she was on the second plane, I think it was.
Oh, all right, okay.
Yeah, and she's calling him on the phone. She's saying they're taking the cockpit. What do I do? And he's like, "What do you mean?" And then she tries to explain it, and the phone goes dead.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that was the one that crashed into there or to the Pentagon. It might have been the one that crashed into the Pentagon. Either way, the story's horrible. Like, it's not. Imagine having that phone call and your deepest fear coming true afterwards.
And in that story, the husband, I think he's the. What was he? He was somebody quite high in the government,
Yeah,
known to the president. He shares, I think, towards the end of the documentary, a personal,
a note that
Note
she left
that-
him. You can't make this shit
Yeah.
up, man. Honestly.
like it's his birthday.
Yeah.
I will celebrate with you on Friday, and he's welling up when he's trying to say the note, and I'm like,
You can't write
That-
that, man.
you-
Honestly,
you
that is
can't
way too good to be
comprehend.
true. Yeah.
yeah, and then you can't comprehend that emotion, man,
No, you can't.
of what that person must be going through. You know?
That's the kind of thing that can break a guy. Honestly, I can't imagine that level of dread or pain. It's too much to even consider. One thing I thought was a bit over the top was how they took off straight away on the runway on Air Force One. Like, that was a very quick takeoff. Barely any runway, just boom, let's go.
Yeah. So it did show it can be done, and it's not orthodox. But again, like this whole thing about there's somebody at the end of the runway,
Yeah.
Stinger missile. It's a hard exit, whatever they call it.
Why would you go up into the sky though, considering planes are like doing crazy shit? So, 2 planes have gone into buildings. Why would you then send them up into the air? Because that's risky.
It's a pretty standard thing, though. I was thinking about that, but yeah, if the president is under threat, then they want to keep him mobile. And as you saw later, if you have a couple of F-16s and you're pretty high up, when you're really high up, altitude
You're okay.
wise,
Yeah.
like your Stinger missile isn't going to get there. You're mobile. You can go anywhere as long as you've got proper good communication.
There was a point where like
safer.
the planes crossed over though. They were like that
Oh,
weird.
a plane was following them or something.
No, a plane was following them, and then the plane that went down, that was stormed by the passengers that was potentially heading for Washington again. That one was like above or below them, and they just changed pathways, but they did cross at one point. And I was thinking that's quite wild.
That is quite wild. And then obviously the whole thing about, vice president and president need to be separate if one gets killed.
That's crazy. When they say Air Force One, I think of the trainers. I don't think of the plane.
I didn't know there were trainers called Air Force One.
On a side note of marketing, so sneakerheads know that Air Force Ones are the most popular Nikes out there. And when I think Air Force One or hear it, I think trainers. I don't think the president plane or anything.
I think Harrison Ford in that film.
Which one?
Air Force One.
Oh, there you go. That makes sense.
Yeah, but it's the
shows a difference in our interests, eh?
Well, you know me, I like the movies.
Very true.
But
so,
go
on.
Pure chaos, man. Like it's very easy to criticize, obviously, but decision making.
It is. The only thing I wanted to criticize was the bit where he just sat there. That's what I found a bit weird. And then he went out saying, "I don't want to start with the kids." But then he said he went and gave a speech in front of the kids saying, "There's been a terrorist attack," and I'm like, bro, there's kids there. Do you not want to get them out of the room or something then, if you want to stick to your principles? But I get it. It's the heat of the moment. You probably didn't want to think of it in that way, or you didn't have the capacity to think of that. You're just thinking, I've got to get something out there ASAP.
Yeah, you got to show strong leadership. Everybody's watching. The terrorists are probably watching this as well. And you saw in the program a lot of the stuff like he wanted to do. It goes through multiple levels. I want to go to Washington. Like 3-4 times he wanted to go back, and they were like, no.
You can't go. Which
there.
is a smart idea, really. I'm glad that they didn't do that, because that would have been chaos as well. I know he wants to go back and show a strong message, but you've got to go through the right due diligence and keep things separate just to spread your risk.
No, exactly.
The Pentagon crash, I don't know why there was no footage. I didn't like how it was only a traffic camera that showed it, and that's it.
Again, this feels a conspiracy thing. That
it does feel a massive conspiracy.
Was it explosion? And we've got to talk about the passengers of United 93. There's a film that's made about this. You should definitely watch it, guys. About to do. I think they show in the film that once they storm the cockpit, I don't know if they get to the point where they are able to fly the plane, but they're just not able, and they're trying to get.
No one knows that really, though, are they? All they're going to hear is just potential feedback and audio.
Exactly. So that's why the film's like that. But to think that we could die doing this, but even still.
Well, you're going to die anyway at that point. So I guess it just depends on, in that moment on a plane, right? If you put yourself in that plane, you're thinking, all right, the plane's going to be hijacked. These guys are saying that there's a bomb on there or something, and something's going down. Yeah. You're thinking, all right, I'm toast anyway. And they're probably saying, we're going towards Washington. You're like, all right, I don't want people in Washington to die. All it takes is a few people to just stand up and say, no, we're going to try and storm the cockpit. And then everyone
Because I think, look, if you're watching that, you're aware that the ultimate target is to fly into something. But if you're on the plane, they're probably not telling them that. To keep them calm, like, there's a bomb on the plane, and the people thinking, well, they probably want some ransom.
No, because in the separate one, in the second plane or something, you could hear the comms, and they were saying, we taken the cockpit, we're going to go and do this. There's a bomb on the plane. We managed to break into it with what do you call it? The clamping thing.
Yeah.
What's it called? Wire cutters, that's it, yeah. We managed to get into the cockpit with wire cutters. So I'm assuming that if you're cocky at that point and you're a terrorist, you're like, John, 2 have happened, I've got a 3rd one on the way. You're like, yeah, you can't do shit. You're probably shouting about it, screaming about it, thinking, yeah, you're hyped up on adrenaline. Maybe you said some stupid outlandish shit. And as I said, all it takes is a few people to just stand up and push back, and then everyone will start doing it, because at that point, everyone's in common agreement thinking you're all going to die anyway. You may as well not kill everybody else in the world beneath you if you can.
No, look, very, very
mad sacrifice, man, honestly.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary.
And you saw if they didn't do it, the command had already come to shoot down that plane.
Oh, had it?
Yep. So Dick Cheney.
Oh yeah. So they gave the command to shoot down the plane.
Take it out.
And they didn't know if the plane had been shot down.
Well, they didn't know if exactly they had done it or obviously it turned out.
Yeah, which is
Passing
again
things.
a testament to how bad communication was. Back then, you couldn't.
No,
figure things
yeah.
out.
They kept asking him, why can't you confirm? You must know. Which again, you think about it, it's like the planes you sent out to shoot him down. Did you shoot him down? Or you didn't shoot him down. It should be very
Put it this
simple.
way:
thing to
did
ask.
you press the button? Yes or no? That's it. Did you shoot something down? Yes or no? Did you launch a
Again-
missile? Yes or no? Like, break it real basic, right? That's it. But maybe everyone's panicking, thinking like, "Oh, did we? I don't know. Maybe what?" Like, yeah, you can't predict how people are going to react in that situation.
And they say that plane was the one that was destined for the White House.
Yeah, which is crazy. I was thinking, do they actually know how? What is it? Do they know? Did those guys know how to fly a plane or how to direct where it was going to go? Correct.
So the aftermath, again, depends if you're a conspiracy theorist or not. Because conspiracy theorists will say that those people that they put on the flight manifest actually were never on the plane. That's what they'll say. But these guys, right, these guys who are said to be the terrorists, the CIA had been watching them for a while. They had openly been having flying lessons for a certain period of time in America. But yes, they were trained in how to fly. So they knew exactly what they're doing. Because it's not... My understanding would be, like, you and me, we can't just fly a plane. It takes obviously certain... Well, not certain. It takes a lot of skills. So there would have to be, maybe not all of them, not all of the 4, I think, on each plane. Maybe 1 or 2 of them. Maybe the 2 are like more like security or whatever.
Yeah.
But yes, they can fly.
That explains it then. Because if you're just going to storm a cockpit, how do you know what the fuck to do? How do you know what to do?
No, absolutely. Unless you're gonna tell the pilot what to do, maybe, force him under kind of duress of death. Maybe you could do that. But like I said, I think a lot of people would have thought, terrorists, they can negotiate, they can ask for something. It's going to be about money or whatever it's going to be, free our lands.
Nah, they just wanted to raise hell, man. That's it.
Yeah. Pure chaos, man.
I don't know how Building 7 fell, so that was the last building to fall.
Absolutely. And again, you see the footage, and again, fuels a conspiracy theory. It's just like, well, there's no debris hitting it. There's obviously no plane that's hit it. Why is it collapsing? And why does it look like it's collapsed in the form of controlled demolition? Just...
Yeah, I didn't... They didn't cover that much. All they did was just like, here's Building 7. I was like, okay. That collapsed. I didn't know it collapsed.
There is an official report that was released after 9/11. If you keep talking, I'll have a look. I'll see what the actual...
Yeah, so... When it just collapsed,
they
they didn't really cover it too much, and maybe that's because in the interest of time of the documentary, but it just shows that they were proper laying it on thick, because even when Bush was on the plane and he was talking, he said that's the first, he was given intel saying you've got a second wave of attacks coming, and Building 7 was the first one of those second wave of attacks. Apparently. I thought the second wave would be the Pentagon and the White House. That would have made the most sense, but yeah, the Building 7 thing was odd. I didn't know... I only thought for years that only the Twin Towers fell. I didn't know that the Pentagon was attacked. I didn't know that Building 7 was a thing. I just thought it was 2 buildings that collapsed and that's it. Yeah. It was only many years later when I was like in uni or something that I figured that out. Oh, it's gone crashed.
So it says here... No, I'm here.
Oh, no, you're here. Yeah, you went you
very...
didn't move for ages.
What caused the fires in World Trade Center 7? So that's Building 7. Debris from collapse of WTC-1, which was 370 feet to the south, ignited fires on at least 10 floors in the building at its south and west faces. And then there's a whole section on how did the fires cause that to collapse. The heat from the uncontrolled fires caused steel floor beams and girders to thermally expand into chain events that caused a structural column to fail. The failure of this structural column then initiated a fire-induced progressive collapse of the entire building. So this is the official thing that's said about...
So it's saying Building
buildings.
7 was close enough for it to be impacted by the other 2 falling. That's essentially it. So then why didn't everything within that block radius fall then?
Well, this is the thing, and then people will say that actually Building 7 was a known kind of national security type building. NSA, CIA, FBI, whatever it is. And people will say, like, there are people who've come on record. There's a whole movement for this. Who have asked the architects of the actual World Trade Centers, right? People who've designed the building, plus structural engineers, who have gone on record and said you could put 7, 8, 9, 10 planes to the buildings, they wouldn't collapse.
Building 7?
No, sorry, not Building 7, but the other 2, the proper...
The World Trade Center?
Yeah. They're
So
like this theory.
logically, I'm not an engineer or anything. I would think if you put something heavy on top, it's going to fall.
Yeah, not on top though, is it? It went through it.
No, it went through, but it stayed in. It didn't come out the other end.
Absolutely. Well, there's nothing to come out the other end. It's ignited. It's exploded. Yes, there's obviously a lot of energy that's been released. But again, the nature of collapse, this kind of what looked like controlled demolition. Again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm saying this is where the theory comes from.
So the engineers have said that it shouldn't have collapsed the way it did. It should have what? Just fell to the side.
No, it just shouldn't have collapsed. Full stop. Like, this is reinforced steel. Like, they did the modeling. They were like, okay, the explosion, engine fuel, this amount of heat. Because we model for these things, it's not like they said we didn't build the building thinking this would happen, but you should be able to withstand this.
Yeah, I get it.
Right.
I get it.
And then, well, I might as well share this story now. So when Indy and I were in New York for our Bangor competition 2015.
You said Bangor, yeah? Do you want to slap?
Yeah, I just realised. I Bangor straight after.
Jesus, yeah, good lad, right?
All right, mate, all right.
Correct
we were
yourself.
travelling in a taxi, I think from what's it called? New Jersey.
It was me, you, and another guy, Qatar, yeah.
Yeah, New Jersey train station going somewhere. Anyway, the taxi driver told us that he was a fireman who was on the ground zero, day one, post-collapse. No, not post-collapse. Before the collapse, right? And he said when we were in the building trying to evacuate people, he felt an explosion from underneath him, so below the building. And he believes that this is what triggered the collapse of the buildings, right? So really, like you said, just taking it off completely at the base and then causing it. And he said that obviously, something has gone into the building. There's enough what we call like plausible doubt. There's enough like happening already. There's chaos. These things could happen and you wouldn't really know or suspect it. And obviously that's, fueled a lot of conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
This is an inside job and it was the way to tap everyone's phones, get rid of privacy laws, invade Afghanistan.
Yeah, it did bring like a wealth of other things on the other side. So, yeah, tracking, etc., all that stuff, I'm sure started happening directly after that for more and more intel because they were caught so off guard about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how things go full circle though, isn't it? Because America's just pulled out of Afghanistan and the purpose of the outcome of those attacks was to go into Afghanistan and Iraq, wasn't it? So,
correct.
It's weird how things just go like that in full circle in about 20 years' time. And now Afghanistan is now back in Taliban hands. So it's weird. It's conflicting, to say the least.
Be interesting to see if the Taliban just, if they just want ownership of their country and they've got it back and they're happy doing that. Or they can now become aggressors and be like, actually, we want to attack America now.
No one's going to know, are they? I mean, it's just a play-by-ear kind of thing. No one can predict it. Maybe they can... I started to Google the difference between the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, etc. And they're all militant groups or militia groups, but they all believe in a different way of practicing.
Ideology.
A different way of practicing like Islam. And that's where I was like, oh, okay, so who's the... I need someone to rank it and tell me who's the most militant, like, and who's...
Most evil, you mean?
Yeah, like, who's the worst and who's the lesser of all the evils, right? So that's what that's what I need someone to sort of explain to me in, like, a clean, concise way. I'm assuming the Islamic State are the worst because they've been putting out the most amount of... the most amount of nation takeover, etc., and just terrorism, period. The Taliban's different. Yeah, it's so much.
I think the perception that the Taliban have is that they have this kind of code of ethics. It's all about, we have leaders, we want to rule, we want to be autonomous, we want to be our own state, rather than, and just as long as we have that, we're not looking to invade other people. And that
There's also a bunch more stuff as well to watch on Netflix. So on Netflix, it tells you the build up to the war, and the build up to 9/11, and how Russia was involved in the conflicts and all that stuff with Afghanistan. And how the US was facilitating helping Afghanistan to combat against the Russians.
Stop communism.
So all of those things is really important. So I'm going to watch the Netflix 5-part series next and start watching
What's it called?
I can't remember the name of it. Let me just check now. Hang on. Netflix 9/11 documentary. Oh, here's a funny story. If you type in Netflix 9/11 documentary onto Google, you get Hassan Minaj's stand-up special for Homecoming. I don't know why, but you do.
Some weird
Very
SEO
weird.
right there.
Yeah. So this one here is it called? I think it's Turning Point. Yeah, Turning Point 9/11 the War on Terror. Yeah. That's it.
Okay.
And it's got 5 episodes worth. They're all about an hour long. So me and Graham were going to try and watch that in a week, but it's a bit of a big ask. So we just stuck to that one.
Thank you, Indy. Thank you. Not giving me too much homework.
You're welcome, bro. I love it. It's fun, man. It's fun.
Oh yeah, it's fun in it, Lord. Yeah, it's fun in it.
You know what is annoying though? Knowing that we have to do a podcast about it, I'm like, okay, you have to sit and pause it and then write your notes and then let it play. Because if you don't, your notes escape you and your mental thoughts escape you. You clearly don't agree, but okay. Cool.
No. I just watch it and then I just come and riff on it.
One last thing to wrap it up. Imagine the planes have struck everywhere. One's dropped in Washington. You're running out of Washington, and you see a plane in the sky. You're thinking, "Is that coming for me?" I could not imagine that. I can't imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, if that were to happen, then yeah, I would go into some sort of kind of contingency.
There's nowhere to go.
Or current kind of thing. No, there is. This is like when you watch enough films, you'll be like, all right, how do I get into a sewer system? How do I get underground? How do I get off the grid? Like, you just go into that kind of mindset. But I think like that because I think about this stuff a lot. About
You're not normal, mate. Not a lot of people think of that.
No. I'm what you call a prepper. So I think about certain eventualities and what would I have in place if I had Most people have this to some degree. It's like someone broke in your house. Where you going? Where's your safe spot? Where are your weapons?
Yeah, I know where the weapons are at home and stuff. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Mate, if someone gets in your house, window cleaning equipment, that's it.
Mate, forget the window cleaning equipment. Dad's got a gun somewhere in the house.
A bandook.
He's actually got a bandook. That's the word for the week, guys. Bandook is gun. Yeah. He's got a gun. No, it's a real gun. I've seen it. Yeah.
Do you know what I was thinking about the Indies since we did paintballing? Like, if you had a paintballing gun in your house, and obviously somebody.
My brother had one. Bao had one for years in his room. Yeah.
It's pretty like we wear masks, right? And if you got hit in the face, like it really hurts, man. Like you hit somebody with paint in the face, A, it really hurts. B, they're not going anywhere quick, man. They're going to be really disoriented.
If you freeze paintballs pop, and fire them at people, it's even worse.
How would you know that?
Because Bao told me.
you lot psychos, man.
Yeah, he is a bit of a psycho. Well, he was at uni anyway. He that's where he had the paintballing gun from.
Right, I see.
Never let me fire it though. I was too young.
Yeah, remind me if we do ever go paintballing, I'll have Bal on my team then.
Yeah, you want him on your team for sure, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, and
did you enjoy hitting me in the head with that paintball?
That was unfortunate. You were part of collateral damage. I can't lie.
Oh, did you see the smoke that came off my head and the head action?
I saw your head jolt forward. Yeah,
because Shindy sent it to Inshi. She was like, this guy's a doctor, man. Like shooting him in the head, execution style.
Sorry, man.
Yeah. Could have gone for the arse. Could have gone for the back of the leg. No.
Look, I was running out of time and I had bullets and I was like, I just need to keep shooting, so I just kept shooting and just doing this.
Yeah, it was the last bullet as well. I thought it escaped.
It was the last one. Yeah, you thought you got off scot-free.
Yeah.
Alright, wrap that one up. Next topic.
Cool.
Next topic. Cheryl Cole becomes the host on the BBC for an R&B podcast.
Okay.
So, for the people that don't know, Cheryl Cole was a part of Girls Aloud.
Right.
I'm saying Cheryl Cole. It's not even Cole anymore. She's back to Tweedy.
She still keeps the name, no?
Does she? I don't think she does.
I
think she just calls herself Cheryl now.
I asked Shindy this, and she was like, "It just sounds so much better than Tweedy. Like it's a branded name now."
She was married to Ashley Cole for years. He cheated on her. She got divorced. She was a judge in the X Factor. I think I said she was a part of Girls Aloud, and now she's sort of just doing her own thing as an influencer or whatever, just a person who's famous and in the media spotlight.
Right.
And she was made the host of the R&B podcast. And the reason why this caused a lot of issues is because she isn't an R&B singer.
So what does she know about it? Yeah.
So what does she know about it? Now, this is quite significant because R&B a lot of people don't know this. Well, you might assume it, but R&B is predominantly from black culture. So if you Google it,
Right.
R&B actually started in the 1940s, and it was created in place of music that black people used to make. It used to just be called race music.
Race music. Okay.
Yeah, they used to call black people music race music, and then instead they called it R&B. So it has very strong black roots behind it, right? And obviously it's evolved over the years and it's changed, and now you have more white people getting into the space. Completely understandable, I get it. But to have something like that, I think it's the BBC trying to do that double thing where they're like, okay, we'll get someone in who's a fan but has a big enough following to allow us to leverage their following to get people to listen to it, to boost our listener numbers. That's how you do it in a certain way so that you get better listenership. And I'm not sure how demographics are for R&B music anymore, because I would think it would still be predominantly mixed race. But because of the rise of other people who aren't R&B singers, like Sam Smith, Jess Glynn, well, not R&B singers, but they're not black, Jess Glynn, etc. Who's the other one I mentioned? I had somebody else written down. Ollie Murs, yeah, he's another one.
Okay.
Maybe the demographics have changed a little bit to now be a whiter audience. You don't know. We don't have access to all that information. Maybe the BBC knows something that we don't. But there's still people from that era of music that you could pick. You could have picked Craig David. You could have picked Jamelia.
Yeah. So your point is there are other people.
Yeah, and there's other people who are black that could have.
Craig David would have been lit, man.
Craig David would have been really good. And he's
Everybody
still relevant today.
Exactly resonates with he's timeless, man.
Yeah.
Like he comes along every so often and he goes like,
and he still drops a banger here and there, and I'm like,
drops
Craig,
a few
you still
songs
got
and
it.
you're like, this guy can still sing. Yeah, exactly, man. Like jumps on a bus, just sings a song and
Still got it. Still got it. Yeah, so listenership, maybe the listener numbers are down a little bit and maybe they've changed demographics, but I can guarantee that hip hop is still minority based and it's based around a lot of black people. Even in the UK, it's still probably focused in that direction. It did make me think, though, maybe this is a reverse typecast. Go on.
What is the difference between R&B and hip hop?
So hip hop is more about the lyrical content of what you're singing. So R&B is more based around like soul. Well, it's based around rhythm and blues, which is classical slow music, right? And then from that spawns hip hop later in like the 80s and 90s. And then hip hop started in a bit of R&B-esque fashion. Then it started veering into the other direction of like, we're going to make it more lyrical. We're going to make it rappy. We're going to make it more rapping, more based on the actual words that you're saying. And then we're going to make it more about the streets, more about your struggle, more about gang life, hood life, etc. And now it's like a different thing completely. But that's what hip hop was sort of based on. I think I've done it justice there. There's obviously a lot more to it, but there is a distinctive difference. Like if I played somebody a song and said this is R&B and this is hip hop, they would understand it exactly as to what I mean. If I played it from the 90s era, if I played like
for example, give me a Jay-Z.
So if I played Biggie hip-hop. Smalls, right,
kick
in the door, waving the 4-4, that's hip hop, yeah. And then if I play R&B from that same era of the 90s, let's say Jagged Edge, you can tell the difference between the two. Jagged Edge is very I'll make love to you, right, that one. And Biggie's like, I'm gonna fucking shoot you. There's a difference. It's not the same.
Stark difference.
Right, there's levels to it. So you can tell the difference. Maybe today the lines are a bit blurred because the music's all starting to sound the same. Yeah. So going back to it, I think it may be a reverse typecasting because in a way, the BBC may be taking a stand against typecasting itself, where they're putting a person forward who is a fan, but has a large enough audience to back up the reason why they've put them in place.
When's this going live?
Know. It's live now. The episode 1 was put out. Episode 1 was put out and people were pissed. They're like, why is she the host?
Episode 1. So this presumably is a pilot, so we'll see if
it's a 12-part series.
Wow, this is quite a lot, isn't it? It's quite a long pilot. So we'll see if it's got any legs. But it's definitely becoming this thing now where people, they are famous for something.
And then they leverage it for something else.
Yeah, and they do these random things and you're just like, okay, I get it, but it's just like, it's weird.
It is easier to get traction with someone that's known though, right? So say if
absolutely.
Say if someone has a following and they launch a podcast, they're more likely to get listenership than say someone that was a has has been. I'm not saying they are.
Yeah, indeed.
But someone who hasn't put something out in years. What are you saying about me for?
That's not like I just found someone who's famous and jumped on their podcast. And
I should have, but I can't. I'm struggling, man. I'm trying to make inroads. But think of the audience that she's built being on the X Factor all those years. People are like, oh my god, it's Cheryl from Middle England. They're like, oh, let me listen to R&B music and listenership and try and be cultured. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing that they're being cultured.
Maybe, I do like your point, maybe the demographic has changed and we don't know. But yeah, if you're thinking stereotypically, it's not demographic I would have thought of.
Yeah, you would have thought so.
Yeah.
So that was a nice controversial topic for the week gone by. Let us know your thoughts in the comments if we missed anything. Tell us your insights if you see
Tell
anything
us
different
about
compared
episode
to
one.
Karen.
How was episode 1? Was it good? Did you enjoy
Episode
it? Why
1?
Did you enjoy
What do you
it?
mean? Oh, the episode 1 of
the
that
show,
podcast.
Yeah, Cheryl. Yeah, not us.
You really
man.
think people are going to
Everyone-
listen to it? I'm not telling you.
everyone
No,
enjoys
don't
it.
listen to it. They got enough listeners, man. Right? I need you lot to
Right,
stay on platform.
right.
Okay?
Podcast. Listen to Indy. What Indy says, 2% man.
Stay on our podcast, please. Thank you.
That's it.
Please don't turn off. Thank you. Appreciate it. Much love. If I look at our analytics now, people have dropped off. Yeah, I'm coming for you, Karen. So, last topic: the abortion law in Texas.
Educate me. What's happening to Texas? These people, man. These Southerners always doing this random shit. What are they doing?
Yeah. Well, recently, Texas has now gone into a very conservative government. So over there, they have Republicans and Democrats.
Yep.
We have Labour and Conservative. So over there,
And the Lib
Democrats and
Dems.
Labour.
The Lib Dems.
Yeah, and the Lib Dems are in the
And
middle.
the BNP.
But whatever. But the main parties over there are those two.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when I say the word Republican, I mean Conservative. When I say Democrat, I mean Labour. That's the easiest way I can start this out. So this might really go to shit and it might flame out because we're two guys talking about abortion. Don't know if this is going to go down well at all, but we're going to give it a fair crack of the whip. Agree, Karen? Cool.
Agreed.
So the basics of it are, a bill was passed to stop women having an abortion after 6 weeks. Now, you being a doctor know that it's difficult to know if you're pregnant after 6 weeks.
Yeah, and I presume
Yeah.
the argument's going to be about life starts at 6 weeks.
Yeah,
Is that
so
the
apparently 90% of people, according to some outlets, have said that they don't know they're pregnant after 6 weeks. So
Okay.
by outlawing this and making it illegal is a massive deal because how are you going to
Well,
know?
it's not. There's not actual choice there, isn't it? It's different. Like, if you know you're pregnant, let's say before that, and you're making choice. But this is saying, the choice is already taken away, isn't it? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's beyond 6 weeks, you have no choice now.
Yeah, lawmakers have done it kind of weird. So they've said, oh, it'll be after 6 weeks, it has a fetal heartbeat. But that doesn't make sense because it's still an embryo and it doesn't have a heartbeat. So
Yeah, I'm not going to profess to know actually that. This is what
That
I
doesn't
studied in
make-
med school.
that
embryology.
doesn't make much sense when I was looking at it.
There must. I mean, the argument's going to be that there's life, isn't it? I think that's.
Yeah,
That's
so
the
it goes
point.
back
They're
to the
gonna
old
argue
argument. It goes back to the
You've
old
got 6
argument of
weeks.
like, when do you believe in life? Like, is it when it has a heartbeat? Do you believe at life in conception? Like, it all
Yeah,
depends on
yeah,
your faith,
yeah.
doesn't it? And because it's a conservative government, they're going to think we're going to cater towards our massive Christian following. So we need to outlaw abortion. We need to make it illegal.
But again, what's the agenda? The agenda by doing that is what, for votes? Is that the agenda here?
It might be votes, but also the abortion issue has just been going on for years. Ever since Roe versus Wade in 1973, it's been going on and on and on, non-stop. They've been trying to get that law reversed, etc. All these kind of things. So, fine. People
And their
who are raped,
argument will. Yeah.
Go
Go on.
the argument who are what?
Yeah, they're going to argue that. Okay, you've got till 6 weeks. It's your decision up until that point. But like you said, that's mitigated by
Yeah,
the
up
fact that
until
if
that
you
point.
if you find out after that, if you don't say so, you're someone who's not trying for a baby,
It's done.
and therefore you don't really. And it's some women don't have periods every month. Okay, so you might
No,
skip
they
a
don't.
period.
Some are irregular.
Right, exactly. That's very normal for some people, and so then you just think, okay, for whatever reason, happen to do a pregnancy test.
Well, now
Then
would be
what
a
do you
great
do?
time to buy as many pregnancy tests as you fucking can because you've got to test yourself weekly now, right? Especially if you've got irregular periods. Most women think like, oh, I'm just late on my period, but now they're going to be like, I'm running to the store to go and buy a fucking test straight away to find out if I am pregnant or not. That must be horrible.
It's not a way to live, is it? I mean, my personal opinion on this is always going to be pro-choice. Whatever you believe has to be what you believe, but it shouldn't be imposed on. And I'd say that generally about most things when it comes to religion and faith. You know, as long as you believe what you believe is not really harmful to anybody else, then keep believing it. Just don't impose it on somebody else. And at the end of the day, it's a woman's body. It's her body. From my point of view, the doctor's point of view, it has to. Yeah, I'm pro-choice, man. It has to be.
I am as well. I think it's up
to make it law. I mean, like it's
only state law at this point. That's why it didn't get. That's why I don't think it got massive media coverage. It got enough, but it didn't get as much as you think. If it was national law, big issue.
No. So, for example, if you're in the state of Texas and you do that, you're imprisoned, or like, what's the ramification of?
So I'll come to that in a sec. Let me just carry on with the backup. So, women who are raped are not exempt from this at all.
Okay.
Which is steep. I thought that would have been an exception, but no, that doesn't count. The reason why it's so key is because abortion clinics can't counter-sue with this policy. So what the government have done is they've essentially pushed back and they've said, you can't sue us, we're going to make citizens power, we're going to give citizens power to sue abortion providers or people who have had an abortion. Now, when you counter-sue somebody, you're going to counter-sue a person or a member of the state. Abortion clinics can't do that because the Attorney General isn't the person that's in charge of this. He's not enforcing it. Citizens are enforcing this. So it's like a smart way of getting around the fact that you can counter-sue. You can't do it. And I was thinking that's ingenious, but incredibly conniving. Yeah.
That is, again, the agenda. There's definitely an agenda here.
That fits the agenda, right? And it's tricky because you're putting them into a corner, and what they're saying is, we don't want abortion clinics to go out of business. We just want them to say, yeah, you can't book an appointment if you're 6 weeks pregnant. Which essentially is killing the business because most people don't know.
Yeah, no, it's obviously going to impact business, and it's going to lead to another business, which is going to be people still going to get it done. Get it done on the sly. I don't know how they regulate or enforce that. Like what, random spot checks at clinics? Like booking scans? How many weeks?
Well, here's how they enforce it. If you snitch on somebody and you sue them, you can win up to $10,000.
Oh my god!
You can win up to $10,000, and you'll have your attorney fees paid for by the state. This is turning into some North Korea shit.
Which one, man? This is a which one?
This is some North Korea shit, because I was listening to Rogan when that chick from North Korea was on, and she was saying, people we're all employed by the state to spy on one another. And we all snitch on one another if you do something out of line or you're not shown to be loving enough.
When was this Rogan podcast?
It was about a month ago.
Okay.
And she was just giving you a breakdown of it, and this rang down that what am I trying to say? This rang the bell of some sort of reminder, I guess, that this is a possible thing that can happen. And it just seems very similar, like it's going down that pathway. It's not fully there, but it's taking one step in that direction of relying on other people around you. It's like in the book 1984. You don't know who's your friend and who's your foe, or who's on your side. Everyone's spying on you. And that's how it kind of is when it comes to just abortion. But then where's that line going to cross? When's it going to stop?
10 grand, man. 10 grand will change most people's lives.
If you win. If you don't win, then you've got to pay for your own fees. And you don't just sue the clinic, you sue the family members involved, the person that's having it, those that had any knowledge of them doing it unlawfully. Yeah, you can sue them 10 grand a piece, I think. Which means you're going to have this massive backlog in the courts of cases, stuff like this being brought forward, and you've got to check and see how valid they are. It's not smart. It doesn't make much sense. Essentially, you're turning Texas into a bit of a boiling pot, aren't you?
Looking for people. What's been the reaction in the state then? People protesting, or?
I think it's protests and stuff. I haven't kept up to date with the actual reaction now, but Joe Biden has said he's going to try and intervene. I don't know how you can, because America's weird with state law and whatnot. I think the reason why it's not got much coverage is because, a bit like how it was in Ireland, where people couldn't have an abortion, they had to go to Northern Ireland or come to the UK to have it and then go back. It might turn into the same thing in Texas, where you leave state, go and have an abortion, and then come back. Potentially. But even then, when you come back, can you still be sued? Because you had an abortion after 6 weeks. I don't know.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what is like a similar comparative that would be as men that we would feel like this is completely taking away our choice.
There isn't one.
No,
Because
there
we
definitely isn't one.
we don't give birth to kids, man. That's the difference.
No, absolutely. I'm not saying on the same level, but something that would be like, oh my God, how can they do that, to us as men? I have to ponder on that one. But yeah, crazy, man. Again, 2021, people passing crazy shit. When you think we've gone past all this stuff.
If you get your people in office, this is what you can do. Right? If you have voters that vote that way and lean that way, you're going to do things for those voters. So maybe it's a heavy Republican state and nobody really knew that. And now that they all hold these policies in place, how are you going to reverse it? And there's levels to the court system out there. There's like local government, federal government, Supreme Court, all that shit. I don't understand how any of it works, man. It gets really confusing.
Very, very similar. We have the same system in the UK. There are levels of escalation. The Supreme Court is the highest. That's universal across both.
So here in the UK, it's based on. We just have but it's all based in the UK law. Like over there, it's you have to go with your state law, and then you get taken to national law. Yeah.
Yeah, whereas it's universal. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and Supreme Court, I think they voted in favour of it 5-4 because they have 5 conservative judges on their board. That's how. Because do you remember how when Trump left, he managed to get that 5th person on board who was a conservative? Because one judge, they don't call them judges, they call them justices. One justice was a Democrat. He stepped down and then he filled it with a Republican, which means anything that goes to Supreme Court that is a potential contentious issue that will lean Republican is always going to get through.
That's it, man. They're getting the right people in the right positions, like you said.
Right people in right positions, man. That's all it is. Yep. It's crazy.
Game, man.
Yeah, abortion and stuff. It's a bit confusing, man. I don't like how people are having their choice taken away from them. Let women do what they want with their body, man. Honestly, it's up to them. Our job as men is done within like a couple of minutes, really. Let's be real. After that, it's all up to them. What they want to do with it is up to them.
I agree, completely.
That's it. Those are the topics I've got, and that's topics done for the week. So go around, tell me your Dr Chronicles, bruv. You owe me a story.
I gave you a great story last week, guys. I gave you the Indy story. That was the best medical story that ever.
Yeah, but this one, you wrote it out in some juicy way. You're like, oh, tell me about this.
Yeah, go on. Remind me. What were the 2 things? There were 2 things. You've got it in there.
I can't. My phone's locked. I can't find it. I swiped
Oh
it.
my God!
Look on your computer. It's right there.
Okay.
It's not that difficult. Right, I swiped the message. You can find it. See, you can tell here who preps for the podcast properly and who doesn't edit people. Yeah, you can tell that I prep. I've got it already, and Garen's like, "What? Tell me again. What? I don't follow Indy. What?
Do you want me to show people my calendar again? Is that what you're?
Nah, shut up with this calendar business, man. I reminded you earlier today. Okay, go on. Tell me.
So there were 2, weren't there? So one was an ITU nurse, trainee nurse. So she'd come in, I think she worked in a different hospital. A trainee ITU nurse. She'd come in and had been in a hospital recently where she'd had her appendix removed. So appendix being removed, very, very common. A lot of people will have it. Now, after a major operation, normally you're a bit immobile, you might be in bed for a while, there's a risk of having blood clots, right? So immobility is a risk of blood clots in your legs, which can travel up into your lungs, what we call pulmonary embolism, can be life-threatening. So this young 22-year-old was sitting in our what we call our triage area, a rapid assessment, and we were doing observations, and her heart rate was quick, like 130, 140, like yours, Indy, on that day. And she had some chest pain, she's breathing away, and we were like, yeah, this is definitely going to be a blood clot. She's got the risk factors, she had a recent operation, she has the signs. And so, because it seemed so clear cut, we gave her the treatment for a blood clot, which is a blood thinner, okay, to thin out the blood, which prevents more clots essentially forming. And then we sent for an X-ray. So it's pretty standard thing to do. The X-ray isn't the thing you will see the clot on, but we do an X-ray because it's quick and we want to make sure that there's nothing else like a chest infection or what we call a pneumothorax. like in that film Three Kings, George Clooney at the start of the film, where you have air in the wrong space that can also cause these types of symptoms to a young person. So it came back, and so, you know, on an X-ray, a 22-year-old, the heart should be pretty small, kind of like this kind of shape. Her heart came back and it was like big. Ooh.
Well,
And we were
enlarged.
like, yeah. But like in a large heart in elderly age, again, very reasonable. Somebody could have heart failure. That we know, right? But again, 22-year-old shouldn't have this. It's a big heart, and we're like, oh, bloody hell, what the hell's going on here? Turns out this lady has a condition called cardiac tamponade, which is a super medical emergency. What's happened here is she has, so your normal heart has a couple of layers, like, it's got like, just think of it like membranes, 2 or 3 membranes, right? And in between the outside of the heart and this other membrane, there's a bit of fluid. That's lubrication, allows it to move. Normal person will have about 5 to 10 mils of this fluid. That's normal, just lubrication. This lady had loads and loads and loads of fluid in there. The problem with that is in the same way, if you put fluid into the brain, around the brain, the skull is fixed, right? And eventually the fluid has nowhere to go, and so it will start pressing on the brain. Okay?
Yeah.
So in this context, what can happen to the heart is, if the heart is surrounded by so much fluid, the heart has 2 functions. It relaxes, and when it relaxes, the heart fills with blood, and it contracts, and the heart gives out blood. That's all it does, right? Fill and pump, fill and pump, fill and pump. If you have fluid all around it, it means that the heart cannot fill. If the heart doesn't fill with any blood, nothing's going to come out when you pump, and that will lead to cardiac arrest, i.e. your heart will just stop and you will die. So this 22-year-old is there, and we've realized, like, oh shit, this is what it is. And so we need to confirm this now. The X-ray is just suggestive. So we like what pregnant ladies have, the ultrasound of the tummy. We get the heart doctor, the cardiologist, to come and do a scan of the heart. She's then, and it confirms it, she's then rushed to the cardiology ward, and she has to have what we call pericardiocentesis, which is a needle about this big.
Yeah.
Big needle, right, which goes underneath. So they got the breastbone here.
By the way, when Karan says this big, I'm talking like how many inches?
Big one, like, I don't know.
30
30 centimeter ruler, 30 centimeter ruler.
Okay.
12 inches. 15 inches? 12 inches, right. So underneath the breastbone, the sternum, 45 degrees, bang. You're trying to hit that space. You're trying to hit the pocket of fluid to relieve the pressure.
Yeah.
Now this, I'd actually gone home at this point, so this was the next day when I was hearing about it, and apparently it took like 2, 3, 4 attempts. You know, they're getting the consultant to come in from home.
Yeah.
So he's on call, like he doesn't normally have to come in unless it's something like super emergency that, you know, the registrar can't handle, and he's having to come in, and thankfully everything was okay. But yeah, it just reminded us that even with years and years of experience, even when it looks, you know, like what we thought it was, it can be completely something different, and things do catch us out. And again, you know, on your stag we play poker, and I often say to people that with medicine, when I look at people, the point of having experience is that because you've seen so many different variations of different conditions, you're bagging on that, you're playing the percentages game. So like in poker, you're like, what's the probability of this and this?
Yeah.
Like when I turn that card over, is it going to be a flush? Right? And so that's what we're looking at. We're like, okay, common things are common. We got this, and this. It's going to be this. But we still get it wrong sometimes. And I think people need to understand that, you know, they say medicine is an art, it's not a science. There are some things we know for sure. And other things, you know, we're making very, very educated guesses. You know, sometimes it's, well, this looks like this. Let's do this. What's the harm if we do this? If it's not this, let's try this. So yeah, it was just a stark reminder, and that's the chronicle that of this week. So it's not, rather than being like a funny story, it was just more, every day's school day, man, and we won't forget that now. And if that presentation comes again, it's get the X-ray very quickly. Don't give the injection, and let's take it from there.
So you saved their life, innit?
Yeah. Well, as a team, as a collective.
Yeah, but a nice happy ending, please.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thank God.
Absolutely.
All right. I needed that after this heavy week of abortion and 9/11. Yeah.
Cheryl Cole.
Whatever. Cheryl Tweedy, Cheryl, whatever you want to call her. That goody, that lady. Right. Cool. Cheers, Karan. Thank you for listening, guys. I will chat to you soon. let us know if you got this far, and your thoughts on anything that we've said today. Really, there's a lot of topics there for you guys to get involved in and to just talk to us about. We're more than happy to respond to comments or your thoughts or any interesting insights you have. Drop us a message. This isn't a honey trap, it's just us asking for some interaction and feedback, that's all. And you got any topics you want us to talk about, please shout. Any news stories you see, shout and we'll cover it, man. I've got no problems with doing it at all, within reason, as long as I know what the fuck I'm talking about. If I don't know, I'm going to say I don't know. Deal? Deal. Sounds like a good plan. Alright, catch you guys soon. Cheers, Karen, in a bit.